This video review was requested by Eltenda. Click the link in the description below and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Let him know Overlord sent ya. Now on to the review. Hey guys, it's Lord here, back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the NECA Toys 8-inch retro cloth Iron Maiden Aces High Eddie. And before we get into it here, let us first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Taking a closer look at good old Eddie the Head here, and we're just going to cut right to the chase. He does come with one accessory, this Luger pistol that fits in his right hand here, and I'll be completely honest with you guys, I'm never taking this out of his hand again because his pointer finger was a bitch to get in that trigger guard. But moving on to the meat and taters of this review, back to the aesthetics and articulation and whatnot. You know I had to say it. I always say it. It's my thing. I like this figure, but I'm not crazy about his vest piece. It's a bit big and bulky compared to what I think it's supposed to be, which is like a cloth piece that's right up on him. And considering the fact that NECA did the Trooper Eddie and the Eddie in the Straitjacket so well, this seems kind of cheap, especially for what is almost a $40 figure. I would have preferred if this was soft goods and some of this stuff was kind of glued on top of it, much like the Trooper was, but it is what it is, I suppose. But at the end of the day, this is also a review, so I'm going to point stuff out. I don't care for this big bulky vest piece. I think it throws the aesthetic off. It makes him bigger than he should be. That, and should he have a holster for this pistol? Yeah, right? I don't know. I don't know how pilots carried their guns, but I can only assume he should have a pistol holster on his leg or something. But that's neither here nor there. You can at least put it in his hand and it's out of the way. That said, though, I love the face. Face sculpt on this is really cool. The goggles don't flip down, but that's probably for the best. Not that they would be down anyways. I like having them up on his head there. Like the album art, or the single art, I should say. And he's got some rips and tears and holes in his outfit here. It looks really cool. Looks like he's been through some shit. I mean, if you're a pilot in, what is it, World War I, World War II, you're going to go through some shit. So, hats off to anyone still around who had to go through that hell. Gloves are plastic, boots are plastic, that's fine. That works for me. This guy is more articulated than the average NECA retro cloth figure as well. So he's getting into ultimate territory, but I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I don't actually care for the added articulation. It's fine for what it is, but as far as these NECA retro cloths go, I like the more simplistic articulation, with the exception of the ankle rocker, because that's actually useful. I do like that. But other than that, the double knees, I'm not into. The double elbows, I'm not really into that either. And the torso hinge here, or ball, whatever that is up in there, that's just more crap to get loose. And one of the knees on mine is a little loose, so he tends to fall a little bit. So it is what it is, but again, I'm going to point this stuff out. But as far as articulation on this guy does go, his head will rotate and look up and down. Be careful with these tubers coming out of him. I think it's his communication device. You don't want to snap those, but they're pretty solid, and I don't think they're going to get too much in the way there. His shoulders move up and down, and yeah, this vest piece is just so bulky it gets in the way. You can move his arms forward and back. can hinge him out, back down. He's got a bicep swivel. He's got a double jointed elbow, which works okay. I mean, if anything, that's good for getting him in a pistol pose. Yeah, because here's the thing. When you collapse his arms down all the way, his vest will puff out like that and stick out. Like, I can fit my finger under there. Pretty sure that's not how it's supposed to look, but it is what it is, I guess. And then his wrists, they are on hinges with a swivel. I wish his pistol hand could hinge up and down because he's kind of pointing it up in the air, and that's not ideal. That said, I will say the hands on this figure do not have long enough pegs to get through this glove cup, so you may need to hollow this thing out a little bit to get it to fit in there right. Which is unfortunate, but it's a simple fix. If you have a Dremel, you could probably Dremel some of that out and just put that in all the way. It will snap in all the way, it's just this glove cuff is in the way. So, not quite sure why that's not like sculpted to the arm or glued in place or what have you, or just open and glued in place, because they could have put a tab in it and glued it into a hole in the arm. That would have been easy enough to do, I think, to keep the hands from popping out like they do. But again, it is what it is. Simple fix, but you shouldn't have to do it. He's got pretty good crunch for a figure with a vest like this, so that's nice. But again, I don't really care for this. It is a diaphragm joint too, so it does rotate as well and have some side-to-side tilt. He might have a waist cut, but I can't really tell. It might just be all up in the upper torso there. So there you go. Hips kick out to the side a little bit, kick down, they kick forward and back. He's got a thigh cut. He's got double knee. As I mentioned before, they work okay. A little bit loose on this side, on mine anyways, of course. He's got a hinge in the ankle. It's a little stiff, but works okay. And then he's got a rocker. I think he's got pick holes at the bottom of the feet, so he'll be good on a McFarlane stand. Throw him on one of those. That should work. But yeah, I like this figure, but definitely not like tops for the year for me. I love Maiden. Maiden's one of the first metal bands I got into as a young lad, when I was a young overlord. And Power Slave is probably one of my favorite albums from them, which is the album Aces High is off from, along with the amazing title track, absolutely excellent, and of course 2 Minutes to Midnight and Rhyme of the Mariner. Yeah, I know my shit when it comes to Maiden. What you gonna do about it? That said, though, I unfortunately don't have any of my other NECA retro cloths out to compare this guy to, because I do have the Trooper, I do have the Stormtroopers of Death, Sergeant D, and I do have Vic Rattlehead from Megadeth, but all those are in the back of my Mego shelf right now, and I also don't have any Megos to compare this guy to. But this is an 8-inch retro cloth figure. Says it in the brand name, so you should have a general idea of how tall this guy is. But in case you don't, I will compare him to some McFarlane toy stuff, which can border on that 7 to 8 inch scale. So with that being said, let's now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is our Aces High Eddie next to a couple of McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures, the gold label edition of the Hazmat Suit Batman, and the main man himself, Lobo from Rebirth. Next up, here he is alongside a couple of Spawn Universe figures, the Raven Spawn and Gunslinger Spawn, packing all the heat with all the different guns that we've gotten with the Gunslinger Spawn figures. And I gotta tell ya, I think Eddie scales the best with these two right here. And last but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, the 11 Spawn, who's not towering over everyone today because Eddie the Head wins by a head. See what I did there? Probably not. With that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and out of all the different incarnations of good old Eddie the Head we've gotten from NECA Toys in this 8-inch retro cloth line over the past few years, I still think the Trooper is by far my favorite of the two I have. At this current time, I do not have the 2 Power Slave versions, I don't have 2 Minutes to Midnight, and I don't have Peace of Mind, but I could say of the 2 I have, I still like the Trooper more. Even though he doesn't have as much articulation, that's not something that I'm really going to prioritize with these, since they are supposed to be homages to old Mego figures, which, as you all know if you've seen any of my Mego reviews, don't have that much articulation as it is. Not even an in-out at the shoulder. That works effectively, I'll say. That said, if you are at all an Iron Maiden fan of any kind, I do highly recommend you pick this guy up, because there aren't a whole lot of action figures available for this particular version of Eddie the Head. I think the only other one available is the Super 7 reaction figure with some variants. So slim pickings as far as this version of the character goes. Not to mention, I do think Aces High is one of their heavier songs, not to be outdone by Be Quick or Be Dead, one of yours truly's personal favorites. So with that being said, I like this figure, I like this version of Eddie, but I think a couple of things could have been done a little bit better. Like the hands popping off, that kind of sucks, that's kind of annoying. The gun being a bitch to get in his hand in the first place, that kind of sucks, that's kind of annoying. Not a fan of the plastic vest piece. It looks nice, but still comes off kind of cheap and Marvel Legends-y in my opinion. I expect a little bit better from the retro cloth line at this point, considering the Trooper was done so well, the Power Slave was done so well, the Vic Rattlehead and the Sergeant D from Stormtroopers of Death and Megadeth were done so well. I don't know, man. I want to like this figure a lot more than I do, but unfortunately, I've got to be brutally honest here and say that this is not one of my tops for this 8-inch retro cloth line so far. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you are so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comment civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when your hands keep falling off. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.